Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 6 of MV Students. We're so excited to spend some time with you again tonight. We've got a lot in store for you. We've got
a pizza TikTok challenge.
And a game for some laughs.
And we're going to continue our series called Go the Distance. So,
let's
do
this.
Go.
Yeah. We came a long way. That's what the song say. And I could do all things. I could do all things. Yeah, I could do all things. Yeah.
We're back at it with here on my right, your left is Hannah Naughton, and we have Matt Droz right over here.
Hello.
And today we're going to settle a score.
Yeah, we are.
I feel like the last time that we had you guys competing against each other, Hannah feels like the ending became a little bit staged. If you didn't watch that episode, here's a little look at how that competition ended.
Four cheese souffle with spinach, bacon, and a side of ranch. Yeah.
No, you guys totally planned that. That's cheating.
Winner.
Cheated.
That's all the time we have for you guys.
Cheaters.
You're fine, all right? Yeah. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, so I don't know where'd she get that idea.
It's obviously not staged.
I'm clearly not staged.
Not at all.
Not at all. See, and it's a little salty right here. So, but before we do that, we want to tell you how you can win a pizza dinner for your family. And we want to send a pizza to you guys by doing a TikTok challenge. So find a funny TikTok challenge or a TikTok dance, keep it appropriate, and send it in to us. I'd love to see your TikTok challenge. We're going to put together a montage of those things. That sounds very fancy, very French.
It is French.
Is it French? Montage. We're going to put together a montage of you guys. We got a couple already. Here's a quick couple. You can check them out right now. Boom!
You was heated when you see me. I always kept it cool. I always kept it cool. I'm a savage. Yeah. Classy, bougie, ratchet.
I'm a savage. I just wanted you guys to know that I'm a savage. Are you savage? Or no,
I'm bougie.
you're bougie. So
Or sassy.
I'm sassy. Matt is.
I'm ashamed.
He's ratchet.
Matt, what does ratchet even mean? I think we should let's check out the Urban Dictionary definition of ratchet. Let's see. It's like right. What? That's you, Matt. I guess.
Great.
That is you too. That is you to
That
the
makes me
T.
feel better.
And so with that, we're gonna play a game called the Cotton Ball Challenge. All right, so the game is pretty simple. The contestant will try to blindfolded get as many cotton balls on their head as they can in 4 scoops. So ready to do this?
Yeah.
All right, I think we're gonna do this.
Here we go.
Scoop 1. Oh, there's just one.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that was good. All right, two in there. Here you go.
Number 2.
Oh, no. Ah! That's good. 1,
No,
2,
no.
yeah, no. Oh!
What?
And I think go home. This is the
There we
4th
go.
scoop.
Last
4th
scoop.
Last scoop. Oh! All right. That was really epic. That was
All right,
10.
right
10. Yeah,
Thank you.
No, competitive. All right, here
We
we
had
go.
a recount there.
All right, so
Hopefully I
Matt,
can beat 10.
put this on there. Nice and low. Like that.
Oh wow.
Can I read?
No.
4 scoops.
No.
Go.
What?
One
It's okay. It's not that bad.
There's nothing in there.
Oh,
Whoa!
yes. Good job.
Hey, you're good.
I knew I couldn't trust you guys.
let it go.
I knew I couldn't trust you.
All right, so you want like a real trial?
Yes, I want my real try.
The beat for you was 10. So get 10, and you can still
good about my
maintain a legitimate win against Hannah Naughton.
Here we go.
What? No. Whoa!
What?
Oh
Do I have any?
Wow.
no! That was no.
I didn't have any.
No, that's good. You started, but they fell off.
Here we go. Why are you guys laughing?
2.
You're doing
You gotta know it's just funny because you're like so intense. No. Stop here. All right, you're gonna spill them all on yourself.
You're really bad at finding people.
Well, I can't see it.
2. No,
Cotton
that's
balls
3.
are
Here you go.
moving.
How'd I do? Oh. 10.
It's a tie! It was a tie!
I will not settle for a tie.
He will not settle for a tie. Well, I guess that's all the time we have.
What? No.
So, way to go, Hannah. You represented yourself pretty well, and I can't wait for Matt to watch that. Okay. Hey everyone, I'm excited to continue our series called Go the Distance, and we've been looking at the life of Joseph, and today I want us to look at his life through the lens of humility. Now I know what you're thinking. Humility, yay! I just can't wait to talk about it! It's not one of those words that's easy to say, it doesn't roll off the tongue, it's not very exciting or glamorous, but hear this, if you're a follower of Jesus, one of the things that people should begin to know you as is by your humility. Humility is an incredibly important thing for us to understand in our relationship with God, our relationship with ourselves, and our relationship with other people. And so today I want to start by saying what humility is not, and then I want to dive into what humility is and how we can be a part of expanding our humility in the weeks to come. So jump in. Let's start with what humility is not. The first thing humility is not a lack of confidence. It's a common misconception. In order to be humble, you have to have like a lack of confidence in yourself. Instead, you can be incredibly confident, you can be incredibly skilled and know that you're skilled, but humility is the understanding of what your skills exist for. Humility is the understanding of what your smarts exist for. Humility is the understanding that you don't exist for yourself, but you exist to benefit others, and you exist to benefit and live for God. The next thing is humility is not self-deprecation. This is a common trap that I think that we fall into as followers of Jesus. We exalt God, we exalt Jesus for who he is, and we should. And we recognize that we're sinners and we get it wrong sometimes, and we should. But self-deprecation is when we sit in it, when we wallow in where we get it wrong. We wallow in messing up. We beat ourselves up beyond what we should. If you're saying things to yourself or believing things about yourself that Jesus would never say to you, because what he's done on the cross and dying and rising again and giving you a new life has given you a new purpose and a new identity, if he would not say those things about you, then you cannot say them about yourself. And I love this quote. It says that humility is not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less. And the next thing is humility is not weakness. Some of the strongest people I've met and known are people that are incredibly humble. And instead, humility really is a source and a sign of strength. It's someone that says, I know who I am, I'm confident in who I am, and if it makes me look bad doing the right thing, I'll do it because I don't do it for them. If it makes me look lowly because I'm serving somebody, I'll do it because it's the right thing to do. They're actually a form of strength that frees them to do the right thing. So humility is actually a strength that is not a weakness. And so this past week, we looked at where our humility comes from, and it comes from understanding our place with God, that it's not about our purposes, but it's about fulfilling God's purposes that are going to bring the most satisfaction, joy, and fulfillment in our lives. Humility comes from letting go of ourselves and saying, God, my story exists for you and for your glory and your purposes. We see that in Joseph's life. In the very beginning, he had those dreams, but the way he talked about those dreams were very much about Joseph. Later on, you see a progression take place in his life where he starts talking about dreams, but this time he's talking about dreams very much in light of how they fit into God's story and giving God glory and the credit. The next place I think the humility comes from is starting to think of yourself less and thinking more of others. We watched that with Joseph. Joseph's story was about him and how his brothers were going to bow down to him. But in the progression of Joseph's life, he starts to recognize that his purpose isn't to have his brothers bow down to him, but it really is to serve his brothers with the position that he's been given. And one of the reasons humility matters for you is that it leads to mastery in your life. Humility is going to lead you to be a more influential person, but it starts with recognizing that your influence is to serve other people. Proverbs 11:2 says this, when pride comes, disgrace follows, but humility brings wisdom. When you understand that you've got things to learn and you ask questions, you grow. I mean, think about it right now in sports or in learning a new skill or in school. When you sit under the teaching of someone else, you are growing because you're acquiring knowledge. The moment that you think you have it all together is the moment that you stop growing. Proverbs 18:2 says this, before the downfall of a heart is pride, but before honor is humility. Maybe you've heard that phrase, pride comes before the fall, and this is where that comes from. But Proverbs 18 tells us that also before honor comes humility. If you want to be honored and raised up, it starts with humility. And you see that so clearly in Joseph's life, right? I mean, Joseph was humbled, and now through his humility, he's starting to be raised up. When you are a humble person, you can't be humiliated. Think about it. When you're humble, you can't be humiliated because it's not about your pride or ego. When you have pride and you have ego, you can be humiliated. When you don't and you know what you exist for, you don't really care as much anymore. You're free from that. And we watched Joseph grow from being humbled and humiliated, and now he is humble with the Lord, and he's giving him the glory and the credit, and he's being exonerated for it. In other words, don't make the results about you. If we do, we become impatient with the timing, we become impatient. But if we trust God with the results and we trust that the results belong to God, we can trust that He's going to raise us up in the appropriate time. So what do we do with this, guys? I mean, so we know that we're called to be humble. How do we become more humble people? Because the moment I think I'm trying to be humble, in some ways, aren't I being prideful? And here are 3 ways I think that we can practice humility this week and grow in our humility. The first one is this: get in the practice of helping others without getting the credit. Whether it's in a study group or in your home or helping around the house, if you do something, don't look for the compliment. Just do it to do it. The second thing is this, is receive godly correction in your life. The people that I see grow the most in their life and become the most influential and grow as leaders are the people that humbly received correction and direction from other people. So make the commitment in your life that if you ever hear godly advice, to take it and receive it and run with it. And so for the third one, this is the one I really want us to try this week. And that is this: before you do anything for yourself, do something for somebody else. Meaning, before you turn on the Switch, before you turn on the Xbox, before you go on the TV, before you do a workout routine for yourself, look around and pause and reflect on what's one way you can help somebody else in your home or your family. Maybe it's putting a dish away. Maybe it's straightening up something. Maybe it's dusting off a countertop. It doesn't have to take long, but just do it so other people can benefit from it. Maybe it's reaching out to someone and saying, hey, how are you doing? But whatever that is, do something for somebody else before you do something for yourself. And I believe that will start to cultivate humility in you and me. Because here's the thing, as followers of Jesus, humility is not optional. We don't get the option of choosing whether or not you or I want to become humble. I love the way that Matt said it this last week, is that humility is something that God has written on our hearts as followers of Jesus. The Apostle Paul, when he was talking to an early group of Jesus followers, he was trying to explain to them what following Jesus looked like. And he said this, he said, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but instead in humility consider others better than yourselves. Each of you should look not only to your own interests, but also look to the interests of others. And in the same way, he should have the same attitude as Jesus Christ. And what was Jesus' attitude? Is even though he was God and he was equal with God, he did not consider his equality with God something to hold on to for his own advantage. Instead, he emptied himself and he became a servant. And what did Jesus serve? He served his heavenly Father. Everything he did for the glory of his heavenly Father. And in the same way, when we want to know what humility looks like, it looks like Jesus, who knew who he was. He was confident in who he was, but he set aside his own agenda and lived for the agenda of his heavenly Father. And for you and I, we can be confident and know who we are, but we set aside our own glory, we set aside our own status and our own rights to say, God, who I am belongs to you, and my agenda is going to be your agenda. The early followers of Jesus would be familiar with the phrase, clothe yourself in humility. 1 Peter 5:5. When you wake up in the morning, how do you pick out your clothes? If you think about it, what you wear is controlling how other people see you. When you pick out an outfit, you're deciding how you want people to view you, what you wear, what you're involved in, what you're a part of. And those clothes represent something about yourself that you want other people to know that you identify with. And if you're a follower of Jesus, when you get up in the morning, one of the first things that we put on is humility. We clothe ourselves in humility. We put it on and saying what we want people to know us as, and what we want people to see about us is that we're humble. And believe me, in a world of pride and ego, in a world of people making a name for themselves, humility stands out. When people know you and they see you, do they see you clothed in humility? My prayer is this week as we go is that you would do that one thing for somebody else before you do something for yourself every day. And that we would be a group of people that are strong enough to set aside our ego, that we're strong enough to set aside our agenda, we're strong enough to set aside our reputation so that we could live for the agenda and the good will of our Heavenly Father. And doing that, knowing that as we do, we allow God to shine. Pride kills. Pride is killing your light, it is killing your witness, and it is killing your ability to grow with other people. Why mess around with it? So today, let's take off our pride and put on the humility of Christ, and let's serve other people. We love you guys, and have an amazing week. We'll see you next Monday.